Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be making a survival shelter, but this is going to be a unique style of survival shelter. It's going to be basically a rat's nest. You could probably tell from earlier, there's a lot of thick native grass behind me. We've got some blue stem, some Indian grass, some switchgrass, and some other varieties like that. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to build a little bit of a tunnel with all the grass to make a survival shelter. Essentially the way this is going to work is I'm going to take some logs. I think what I'm going to do at least is I'm going to take some logs and put them about, a little more than shoulder width apart. I'm going to take some sticks, bend them in between the logs, fasten the sticks to the logs, and then layer the inside and outside with that grass so that I have a nice tunnel that I can burrow into and then hopefully keep me out of the wind and the cold and all the elements. Maybe you can tell right now, maybe you can't, but it's pretty windy. There's a good, steady 15-mile-an-hour wind out of the north, and then it's probably gusting up to 30 miles an hour. So where I'm gonna build this shelter is actually gonna be down here. You might not be able to tell, but it's in a bit of a ravine. So the reason for this is that once I get my shelter down, only about the top third of my shelter will actually be getting hit with the wind, and the rest of it will be blocked by this little embankment I'm in. Right here is a pretty good spot. It's pretty flat, it's pretty clear. I'm gonna get that stick out of the way, and I think I should have a good spot to start building my shelter. That's good. That'll work. Get to build. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get down here into the woods and I'm gonna start searching. What I'm searching for are gonna be 2 logs. They don't have to be huge in diameter, but they do have to be fairly heavy and that are about my height. They can be a little bit shorter, they can be a little bit longer, but generally around my height. Gotta watch out when you're gathering these logs. This looks like a good log right here, but it's right next to a big badger den. So I think I'm gonna leave this one alone and go find a different one. Balance just right. Number 2. They don't have to be super straight, but they do have to be, kind of straight. Looking here. They could be a little bit closer. Something you're gonna have to keep in mind, the wider you space these apart, the more grass you're gonna have to get. And then the taller you make your shelter, the more grass you have to get. So I'm gonna try to keep these pretty close so I don't have to be out there for hours getting grass. I want to be out here for as little time as possible. So for now, these 2 are going to stay pretty close and they're going to work just fine. So if you come over here into the woods, there's these guys. Let me set up the camera so you can see them. There's these guys. These little, and really any super green stick will work, like saplings. This is just a little, I think these are kind of dogwood. But if you look at it, the main thing is look how it bends. See how it bends? It bent, well, okay, all right. See how it bends? It bends completely in half because this thing's nice and green, which is exactly what I want. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these green little sapling type trees and I'm going to bend them over across my logs and then fasten them down. And then my grass is gonna go on top of that. I'm gonna try to find about 6 of these good green saplings that'll bend really nicely. But I'm working with pretty tall grass, so I can have quite a bit of spacing and that would give me about 1 per foot of my shelter. Here's the next step. I have some rope with me, kind of cheating, but whatever. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to take these, I guess you could call them poles, that's what they're gonna be, these poles right here, and they're gonna go here, and here. And I guess I can just stab them into the ground. I thought I was gonna have to, well, that works. Look at that, I don't even have to tie them down. Again, make sure that your rods are bending evenly. Your tent poles, your poles are bending evenly. Like this. Space it out. Put this guy in. Stab it into the ground. Here, here, into the dirt. So, just a quick little note here while I'm bending this pole. Gosh, that doesn't sound right to say. If you are in a drier climate, like right now, it's been raining for, I think, 2 days now, and we've got some snow. You can't really see it, but there's a little bit of ice still on the ground from when we had some good snow. So the dirt right now is nice and loose, and it's easy to get these sticks in the ground. If it were in a drier climate and I didn't have the fortune of this, then I would most definitely want to be tying these off to the logs rather than just sticking them into the ground. But I got lucky today, so I'm gonna take advantage of that. So if you can envision it. It would be something like this. And then there'd be grass all around me. And then obviously I'd go in head first so that my head is at the back where it can't be chewed off by any animals. I'm gonna run this rope as a ridge pole across the top so that I have something to lean the grass against halfway through the whole process, instead of just sitting against nothing. That way it has a little bit more structural integrity. Okay, so that was a success. We got the, I think ribs would be a good name for them. Got the ribs set up, and then I got a ridge pole. If you didn't have rope, you could just take probably a long slender stick and put it across the top, or a flexible one, and you could even weave it through, but I have rope, so I'm gonna use it. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a ton of that grass from out in the field over there, and I'm going to start layering it on the sides and the top, and maybe even a little bit underneath here. That way I can start getting the rat's nest, which is what we're gonna call it. We're calling it the rat's nest. I get the rat's nest complete and warm and safe and cozy. You can see it's starting to come together. You can barely even see it. This side is a little bit thicker than that side, and that's where my feet are gonna be. So I'm gonna take one more good load of grass and I'm gonna put it at the other end where my head's gonna be. And then we should be done with the shelter. Look at these guys. Oh, there's a bunch. All right, I gotta finish up this video so I can go kill geese. Last load of grass, going right over here. She is complete. You can see there's like a gap right there, which I would fill in if I had a little bit more time to, but I just don't, sadly. But yeah, you can see it's holding up good. The grass is pretty structurally sound. It's actually pretty well camouflaged too. So pretty good, pretty cool. Now the way you would get in would be you'd have to go right down here and crawl in head first all the way to the back. But this is what she looks like. So let's go ahead and get in this thing. Yeah, look at this thing. Okay. All right. Ow, ow, ow. I have absolutely no room to turn around, but I'm in the shelter and it's very cozy. Let me get to the back all the way. Okay, so as you can see, there's a gap behind me that I should fill in. If it wasn't getting down to like 20 degrees at night, I could totally sleep in this thing. There it is. That is how you build a rat's nest. Okay, the next style of shelter we're gonna make is going to be a lean-to. This is a very basic style of shelter. Anybody can make one like this. This is gonna be extremely simple and easy to follow along with. So let's get started because I'm running out of daylight. Okay, so just going through the woods here. What I'm looking for is gonna be a tree with the right shape. And looks like I've stumbled upon the right kind of tree. Let's check it out. So what I'm looking for when I'm making a lean-to is a tree that has a V in it, just like this one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my ridge pole is gonna go in this V and it's gonna run down across the ground. So the first thing we gotta do is we gotta find a stick that's about 7 to 8 feet long. Dead. So the next step to making this is going to be getting a bunch of smaller, shorter sticks and then laying them on the sides at an angle. And also clearing the dirt of any of these little brambles because those aren't very comfortable to lay on. That'll work. The reason it looks like it wouldn't stop anything is because it wouldn't. Because this is just a skeleton, okay? I'm not done, so shut up. What we need to do now is we need to add an outside layer to this thing. Now, what you can do to add an outside layer on top of these sticks is unlimited. If you have a lot of dead leaves, like there's plenty on the ground here, you can pile those up on this thing. I made this pretty steep, so I'm not going to be able to do that. If you have a lot of evergreens in your area, you can take like pines or cedars, you can take those and layer them on the outside of this, or in my case, there are a lot of dead trees over there with a lot of bark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the bark off of those dead trees and pile it onto the side here to block the wind and other elements from getting into where I'd be sleeping. The nice part about lean-tos is if you build them this way, they get progressively easier. Okay, so looking at it, oh, we're losing light. You can see there's a couple gaps in the bark. I probably should add one more over here. The last thing I'm gonna do before we run out of light is scrape a bunch of dead leaves under this thing. That way I have some padding against the cold dirt. So, as you can see, the shelter does a pretty good job protecting me out of from the elements. This keeps my right side here very protected, and my left side is a little more open. If I were to spend the night in this thing, what I would try to do is get a fire going right about here, and then have a good firewall right where the camera is, so that it would reflect some heat back towards me. If you need more protection from the wind, rain, snow, whatever you're dealing with, what I would recommend doing is, instead of building a lean-to, build an A-frame. And all that is repeating what I did over here on this side, so that now you have a full cocoon that you can lay in. And again, layering a bunch of leaves on the ground so that you can sleep on something that is not the cold dirt. So, yeah, that's the shelter. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, we're at spot number 3. If it looks familiar, it's because the first shelter I built is literally like 20 yards over there. But there's a specific feature I noticed when I came over this way that I want to show you guys. That's pretty handy when you want to survive the night somewhere. Let's go take a look at it. What you got here is the root ball of a tree that has been uprooted by the wind or some other disturbance, maybe Bigfoot, who knows. And what you're left with is a good wind block over here in a pack rat's nest. I don't know if you can see that. And then what you have under here is a little dugout trench-like area that you can go ahead and lay down in order to keep you sequestered from any of the elements. If I lay down in this thing, which I'll show you, I'm not far down from the rest of the ground. Like, the ground's literally just right here, but I still have a huge wall behind me, which leaves out half of the area I need to protect effectively, making half of my work disappear. And it's especially nice if you're in a patch with a lot of this grass. This is brome, but it's very thick, so it gives you a good raised bed off of the cold dirt. So my idea with this is to build something very similar to what I did with the lean-to, taking sticks and laying them across from the dirt on top of the root ball. That way I have shelter above me, and I'm enclosing that one wall that I need to enclose. That way I have a full shelter, similar to an A-frame, but again, I don't have to build that other wall because that's gonna be my other wall. So let's get to cutting some sticks. This can close up the end over here. So similarly to the lean-to, what we need to do is put something on the outside of this to keep in my warmth and to protect me from the elements here. So again, there's a lot of ways you can do it. There's some cedar trees over here, and actually you can see one right there. I don't really want to cut down any cedar limbs right now, but there's a lot of this dead brome grass all over here. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find more sticks, ideally ones with a lot of branches on them, and then I'm going to layer them going up this and then put the grass on the outside. Okay, so as you can tell, I've got these weaved in here. They're pretty stable, and they don't need to be super sturdy because all I'm gonna do is get a ton of grass and layer it up the side of this thing. Okay, let's take a look inside this thing. So you can see the inside here is looking pretty good already. It's nice and sheltered, so I'm gonna go ahead and crawl in. So this is actually really warm right now. It's really nice in here. All this grass on my side is keeping me pretty enclosed, and it's blocking out the wind really well. That wind is kind of out of this direction and coming this way, so it's keeping it out of the shelter. So if I had to, I could definitely spend the night in this thing. But if I flipped around and had my head at this end and my feet at this end, I'd be protected from most of the elements. I'd have a nice area, a bowl to lay in, and then if I got some extra brome grass and layered it as a bed, then I would totally stay warm. Pretty quick shelter. This one only took me an hour and 30 minutes to make, if I had to guess, like maybe not even. Granted, I did steal some of this grass from most of this grass from the other shelter over there, but getting grass really doesn't take too terribly long if you're pretty efficient with it and you know what you're doing. So those are the 3 shelters. They're very easy to make. They're very simple. They only take about an hour to hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you're really taking your time at max. If you need them and you're in a pinch, you can do them with pretty much anything. The first one I did use a little rope. The last 2 I did have my axe with me. But other than that, all you really need is just plenty of sticks, maybe some rope, and then a knife and or an axe, and you'll be set. And so hopefully you guys found this information pretty useful. It might save one of your lives one day. So it's good information to know. It's pretty easy. Like I said, anybody can do it with just a couple of things. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to go check out some of the other stuff, I'll have it somewhere up on the screen, and I'll see you guys later.